This is my snow sweet apple up here by the house. I had deer up here this spring and summer, and they did nip off all the buds on the lower limbs here. Not so much so up here. I couldn't reach this. The insects got the only apple, or squirrels have downed the other apples. But see, they killed the limb, that limb, all the way out by taking every bud off from it. The honeycrisp tree up here by the house had a pretty good set. I see some curculio damage on some of these apples, but it's got a light enough set. I'm not going to thin it. On the other side there, it was thicker set in some places. I've thinned it somewhat. Some of the damaged apples. We're already starting to get, I'm not sure what causes that. Okay, unless that's a bite on the apple when it was very little and the wound has just stretched a little bit. Oops, looks like I broke that. So that's about the average size of the honeycrisp right now. They're already starting to redden up, and city blotch just looks like it's starting to appear. Needs a good new spray of some fungicide. Well, I got squirrels coming up here. They'll pick them up off the floor, up off the ground, easier than they will from the tree. So I'll give them that. So I am thinning this small honeycrisp tree right now. When I thin, here's an example of one. You first take off your misshapen, bug-bitten, diseased, or very small apples, or more, and then after that you can thin for if you have like 3 or 4 in a cluster, thin it down to 1 or 2. I usually go down to 2. I'm just going to throw this over the fence here, and the squirrels will pick those up for me. So if they're ripening early, that typically means you have bug bites on them, and the apple might be getting soft. Squirrels always appreciate some early apples. No use putting the energy of the tree into small apples that'll probably fall early anyway. So that looks a little better. Kind of sun. I need to get in the shade to get a good look at these. This is a sad little Shizuka tree, and I'm going to get more apples off this than off the one up by the house. And they typically are a very large apple. If these don't have any damage, or any of these that don't have damage, they'll get large, over 3 inches. Something like that was a bug bite or damage to the apple when it was very young. The bark will typically dry out and crack sooner or later. This tree needs to be thinned also. This is a honeycrisp, and it's got ropes of apple here. They look in pretty good shape, some of them. But see the misshapen ones? Sometimes I knock other ones off when I grab the misshapen ones, but there's like 6, 7 in a cluster. But they all look good. So I'll go for the misshapen ones first. Let the tree put its energy into the good sized, healthiest apples. I think this one could be used. This is really overproducing. Like most people, I have a hard time picking apples off that even would be good enough for cider. But if they're small, they're probably not going to get very big or sweet. Honeycrisp, if they're not big, they're not sweet. You know, anything below average now. You got a bunch of them over here, and inside the tree too. It's not going to get much sunlight in here. If you want a good honeycrisp apple, I gotta thin this whole tree. If you want a honeycrisp apple that tastes good, You got to get it sunlight. These are going to be cider apples. There's just green, green, green apples everywhere. If you get apples too close together, moths will lay or will cocoon in between them. Oh, look at those blueberries. Look at those blueberries. Oh. Now you got to be careful about picking the first blueberries of the season off from a bush, right? Everybody knows why? Because the first blueberries are typically damaged. So they probably got a bug in them. Oh, that is a good bug. This tree has seen better days. Look at the crack in that tree. I don't think I can patch that up. So it's all the way down. All the way down. And the problem is the crack will allow water in and then disease and insects. So this tree is probably destined when it gets too weak, and I'm already seeing the effects of it. The apples are tiny. Okay. A lot smaller than they should be, so that's okay. This tree is it's in the shade of that big maple tree across the road. By about 3 in the afternoon, it's shaded. So when this tree dies, this location will. It's a good place for blueberry plant, maybe. This is the lower orchard now. Golden russet apples will often grow in clusters. I have not. Some apples will grow large even if they're in a cluster. Golden russets, if they're 3 in a cluster, you'll see a little size difference. They're about a medium to medium small, average size. If they're 3 in a cluster, it's probably good to thin them to 2. But you're not going to get a huge apple by thinning it to 1 anyway.